When Rigathi Gachagua fell out with President William Ruto, many believed his political career had reached its end. But Kenyan politics rarely work that way. Today, a new political calculation is actually emerging, one that could place Rigathi Gachagua directly on the presidential ballot in 2027. Tonight on Capital TV, we examine the real political reasons why the former deputy president may still become one of the biggest players in the next election. The first reason, ladies and gentlemen, is numbers. Mount Kenya remains one of the largest and most decisive voting blocks in Kenya. And historically, regions with huge voting strengths rarely agree to play a junior partner politics for too long. With sections of the region already, there is growing political thinking that Mount Kenya should not always be expected to support candidates perceived to command smaller voting blocks nationally. For Gachagua, this becomes powerful political argument. Why should the region, with some of the highest voter turnout, consistently negotiate from a weaker position? Whether one agrees with that argument or not, ladies and gentlemen, it is a conversation already gaining momentum politically. But perhaps the most important political calculation is this, ladies and gentlemen. Gachagua may not simply be thinking about the presidency. He may be thinking about parliamentary power. In modern Kenyan politics, controlling strong numbers in parliament can be just as important as occupying state house, ladies and gentlemen. Even from the opposition, a coalition with large parliamentary numbers can influence budgets, legislations, investigations, committee memberships, and national political directions, ladies and gentlemen, the way Raila Amolo Odinga used to do. This means that even if Gachagua does not ultimately win the presidency, being on the ballot could help him actually mobilize numbers and enough political strength to become one of the key power brokers after 2027 election. In other words, the real battlefield may not be the state house, but parliament itself, ladies and gentlemen. Another reason that Gachagua is unlikely to simply support another political project blindly is trust. Politically, he has already experienced what many of his supporters consider betrayal. After playing a central role in the 2022 campaign, his relationship with President Ruto collapsed dramatically. And in politics, betrayal changes calculation permanently, ladies and gentlemen. There is an old saying that once bitten, twice shy. For Rigathi Gachagua, 2027 may therefore become less about loyalty and more about political self-preservation. That could explain why he may prefer building his own political structure rather than depending entirely on alliances that are controlled by others, ladies and gentlemen.